A Most Dangerous Woman by L.M. Jackson. Read by Phyllida Nash. Prologue. Sarah Tanner bought her coffee house in the spring of 1852. It was a small, rather dusty premises, situated upon the corner of Leather Lane Market and Liquorpond Street, in the parish of St Albans, Holborn. The previous owner, a widower who had taken to drink upon the death of his wife, had rather let himself go, and his old business had rather gone with him. Little remained in the way of fixtures and fittings, only a bronze coffee urn, dull and discoloured, that stood upon the counter, and the faint, melancholy aroma of roasted mocha, or more likely the scent of some more economical berry laced with chicory, which had, over the years, permeated the woodwork. To some, regardless of the interior, it might have seemed an unfortunate location for any commercial undertaking, for the district was mentioned in the police news with disturbing regularity, and, if the respectable folk of nearby quarters said anything of their Leather Lane neighbours, it was generally to condemn them as thieves and parasites, or to commend their souls to the care of the local home missionary, which amounted to much the same thing. Sarah Tanner, however, had given the matter some thought. The area was a poor one, but she had known worse. The two little rooms and attic above the shop seemed perfectly adequate for her own comfort, and most importantly, the proximity of the street market meant there would always be a passing trade. From thirsty costermongers who set up stall at the break of dawn to the weary females who scrabbled for bargains at the close of day, the pavement outside was rarely empty. And if the occasional cadger or out-and-out villain should stumble upon Sarah Tanner's new establishment, she did not much mind, as long as they paid their way. Mrs. Tanner, she had resolved to appropriate that title to herself at an early stage in proceedings, though only 27 years of age and unfamiliar with the married state, proved to have a sound business mind. The little shop, once cleaned and renovated, soon began to prosper. In fact, it was not long before she employed both a waiter, an elderly man by the name of Grundy, reputed to have known better days, and a certain Mrs. Hinchley, who, upon interview, declared herself a plain cook and no nonsense, which was precisely what was required. Mrs. Tanner's greatest commercial asset was that she kept regular hours, for she happened to have that most useful of objects, a little mahogany clock, a rarity in Leather Lane, and a striking one at that. Thus she opened her door at precisely 6 o'clock in the morning, rain or shine, and closed it again at midnight, in marked contrast to the neighbourhood's more established eating-houses. Her food, too, was both edible and reasonably priced, a rare combination, and provided the costermongers with a breakfast which was, in their own words, a proper tightener. Tea and coffee came by the pint, 1 penny, or the small cup, a halfpenny, and something hot was always ready on the grill, from eggs and bacon in the morning to sausage and potatoes at night. Mrs. Tanner also understood the value of advertisement. After 2 or 3 weeks in the business, she hired a Frenchman, a self-proclaimed genius with a brush, much down upon his luck, to hand-paint a signboard which spelt out the words "Dining and Coffee Rooms" in black and gold. Then came tickets announcing "A good dinner for 8pence" and "Leg of beef soup, 2pence per cup," placed prominently in the window, above the red curtain that concealed diners' lower extremities from passers-by. And, of course, there was the best advertisement of all, the rich smell of sizzling chops, kippers, or Yarmouth bloaters that occasionally escaped from the narrow confines of the kitchen. And it was a narrow little room, for the shop was not a large one by any means. The front, which consisted of a small plate-glass window and a very plain door, set back a little from the street, could not have measured more than 12 feet across. Inside, there was just enough space for 4 booths against the wall, the serving counter, and a pair of tables by the window. It was only after purchasing the lease that Mrs. Tanner discovered the room itself was rather irregular and wedge-shaped, and, upon close inspection, she found that the walls buckled inward slightly, as if the victim of monumental tight lacing. Still, she was not daunted by the discovery, and it soon became clear to anyone who took an interest that the new coffee-house on the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?